Hello and welcome back. What I thought I'd do today, I thought we could talk about things to do and preparations that you need to do or you should be doing before the breeding season starts. So here in England, obviously we're now in the grip of winter. January and February is our two coldest months, but usually by the beginning of February I've started to pair my birds up. Not all of them, but the majority of them. By the second week in February, everything will be pretty much paired up. So now is the time to prepare for the coming breeding season. Obviously, things that we should have already done long months ago should have been done. But obviously, vaccination, should all have vaccinated your birds for paramoxovirus. That all should have started before the show season, although we didn't have a one last year with the COVID. But this year, preparation. That's the number one thing I want to talk about. So now January, you still got plenty of time. This is the month where I would be getting dropping samples done for cocci, worms, canker, see what the count is, and then I would be medicating according to that. After that, I would be ivermectin all my birds, making sure that they were all trimmed up correctly. All the toenails, the beaks would all be trimmed. This is just basic maintenance before the preparation. And then while I was doing all this, I'd be working out my pairings for the forthcoming season. Areas that I've talked about in the past where I want to be, where I think my birds might have been lacking a bit, I will double up on these traits in the pairings. So if I want to make a smoother, thicker rows, that would be emphasis on at least 3 or 4 of my pairings. These would probably be combined into the top 3 or 4 pairs as well. I would look through the youngsters that I'd selected, what I'd held back, see what they were bred from, see which pairs produced them, start making new pairs up to keep that going. All this would just be wrote down on paper. Nothing would be definite. And then at the end of the month, what I would do then, I would get the birds and I would start putting them in the nest boxes that I use to pair my birds up, and I would go through them pair by pair by pair until I was completely satisfied that they were the pairs I wanted to put together. Sometimes what I'd wrote down on paper might change when I put my pairings together. That's happened before in the past. Sometimes what looks good on paper doesn't really look good in real life, so I use a little bit of caution there and a bit of variation in what I do. Once I've paired up, so say we're at about the second week of February by then, once I've paired up, I'll leave them mated for about a week to 10 days. Usually around the time I get my first egg from the Baccharis, that's when I'll pair me feeders up. All the feeders, the nest bowls and all that would all have been washed, prepared, nest felts in, all the nest materials I'm going to use, that'll all have been sorted out in January. So we're all ready just to open the nest boxes up, put the nest bowls in and let the feeders go. The feeders, the main reason I do this for is I don't pair my feeders up at the same time as my trumpeters, is because the feeders lay far quicker than what the trumpeters do. So I'd rather the feeders were following behind the trumpeters instead of pairing everything up at the same time and then realising all your feeders is laid and you've got nothing to put under them, so you're chucking the whole round out. So you're not only wasting the whole round, you'll knock yourself out to sink, because then your trumpeters will start laying, your feeders won't be laying, and then you'll be playing catch up for the majority of the season. Unless you've got 150 pairs of feeders, you'll be struggling. So usually I have about 2 pair of feeders to each pair of trumpeters, but that sometimes can get up to 3 pair. I've cut my feeders down this year. Last year, just the amount of birds I had was just becoming too much for us. So I'm now running at about 50 pair of feeders. Whereas in the past I've had 100 pair of feeders. But obviously I use the feeders for the breeds as well, the fantails, even though they can raise their own youngsters. Now, I don't bother pairing the fantails up yet. I find that if I pair them up too early, the amount of clear eggs I get is just not worth the effort. Now, a lot of people I mean, you'll know people yourself, and you might have even done this yourself, pairing up in December, first week in January. There's loads of people that's paired up now. I know that myself, and I've did that myself. But what I found over the years, and over 45 years of breeding pigeons, what I found is that pairing up early in December with my breed of pigeon, this might be okay for racing pigeons, I'm not talking about racing pigeons here, unless you extend the daylight to more than 12 hours and heat the lofts to more than 10 degrees, you're wasting your time. The birds will lay, or the birds won't lay, they'll just sit there and get sick. The birds that do lay tend to have very, very low fertility, so I tend to find that mid-February, the old traditional Valentine's Day dates, they're the time that I start and pair up. My lights will be extended, but I do not heat the lights. I don't heat my sheds anymore. So come now, my birds are on probably 10 hours a day light. That'll be extended over the next 4 to 6 weeks, and I'll extend that usually half an hour each week, and I'll get it up to 12, 13 hours, and then eventually up to 14 hours come April. And that's usually my months. For me, the majority of my youngsters arrive in May from eggs that were laid and fertilised in April. So May, June are the 2 months where I class as my bumper months. Our breeding season here in England is a lot shorter than it is in other places. Like I say, if we start mid-February, I'm usually finished and split off by beginning of July. There'll be an odd few pair I'll still have left together, and I'll probably still have youngsters in the nest until early August, but the main trumpeter fancy pigeons that I have, they'll all be split off. We need to get them split as early as possible, and certainly once you get past June the 21st and they start casting the first flight here, the cockbirds will pop the roses, and then fertility will be just zero. So you're wasting your time pairing them up anyway. You might as well split them up and then get the molt on hand. Molting trumpeters, especially Bukhara trumpeters, is very difficult, and especially in our climate, we have very damp weather, very short nights, short daylight, sorry, long nights, cold weather. It's not like in the Middle East or in California where it's really nice. We haven't got that luxury. A few other things that I'll do, obviously, like everything, I'll increase the calcium in the hens. The calcium in the hens will get, I'm just coming down here, I don't know if you can see them, there's some little puppies, some little lurcher puppies running about. So what I'll do is in the hens, I will increase the calcium in the hens. They'll all get a calcium tablet each every week, and the males, they'll all get a vitamin E capsule, wheat germ oil capsule. I'll give them, the males, all one of them, and the females, but only give the calcium tablets to the females. The hen section I'll have started all the way throughout the winter, but I'll ramp it up in January with liquid calcium in the drinker, in the water, for the females, but not the males. Just get as much calcium in them hens as you can before the laying season starts. As you know, my breed requires feeders, so we don't let our birds sit our eggs, and we'll take the rounds off them, and usually I might end up taking between 6 and 8 rounds from a pair of pigeons, and sometimes even as many as 10. If the bird's is fertile, I'll just keep pumping and pumping and pumping until the train arrives in June, and then I'll slow them down then. That's the key, or that's how I find that works best for me. A lot of other breeds of pigeons that you keep, especially the more heavily feathered breeds, this works fine for them. But if you're keeping what we class as normal breeds of pigeons, your rollers, your westies, your show races, your racing pigeons, all that type of thing, I mean, pretty much any time of the year you can do what you want with them. But still, they need to be healthy. Doesn't matter what breed of pigeon you keep, health is paramount. You must have healthy pigeons. Healthy pigeons breed healthy pigeons. For those who are not very keyed up or know much about pigeon diseases and pigeon health, I really advise that you look into this and get yourselves far more educated. You kind of keep running to vets, because 9 times out of 10 a vet hasn't got a clue, and he'll just bang you full of birds, full of Baytril, or he'll just fob you off with something else and give you a nice fat bill to go with it. Right, that's pretty much about it. So I'm pretty much on me walk again because we're on lockdown. So for all those who stayed till the end, thank you very much. I hope you take the time to subscribe. And if you like what you say, just comment below. If there's, as I said before in the past, if there's anything you want us to talk about or go over, feel free to ask. Right, until next time, see you again. Take care and bye.